Hello and welcome to Queendom TV, and today we're going to be addressing something that has been a long time coming and that we discussed on the first ever Queendom TV live. So if you guys haven't seen that, check that out. We did that last Wednesday, and the thing we're going to be discussing today is or rather are the claims that Britney Spears had dementia realistic, right? And obviously we all know, if you guys don't know what's going on in the Free Britney stuff, check out my Free Britney playlist where I've done a whole bunch of videos which will catch you up with what's going on. I'm not really going to do a whole recap because it's a whole long story, so check that out. But what I will say is the way she got into this whole conservatorship thing that she's been in, or she was in for 13 years, was because they claimed that she had dementia. Now, I'm not a health expert, okay? I'm not a health expert, and so let's just put that out there as a disclaimer. However, I'm a woman that loves to learn and who loves the Lord. And so I was like, you know what? Let us just do our own analysis, an informal analysis, and see what we can get out of this. Because this is something I feel like goes overlooked so much. Because for her to get into the conservatorship in the first place, she had to, that this was the big claim. This was the big reason, right? She couldn't look after herself. Well, let's see what that looks like. So I went to the NHS website, which is the National Health Society or something like that. The NHS in the UK, which is actually the largest employer in the world, by the way. So for those of you who look at the UK like, yay, they all got like free healthcare over there, although we technically pay through taxes. But even still, that is the very entity we're talking about. And they have a website. And on there, you can check things like symptoms and stuff. They can give you advice, who to call, whether you need to book an appointment or not, etc., right? So I went on there to see the story of dementia, right? So here we go. Let's start with the early symptoms. And again, like I said, I'm not a professional. This is just us having a conversation, right? As human beings who have the right to learn and to know. Okay. Early symptoms: memory loss, difficulty concentrating. What's this? Finding it hard to carry out familiar daily tasks. For example, getting confused over the correct change when shopping. Struggling to follow a conversation or find the right words. Being confused about time and place and mood changes. Guys, you're going to want to stick to the end of this video because there's just so much to unpack here. One thing that I noticed just in looking up this stuff about dementia before I even discuss what we've just read right now, and you're probably feeling the same shock I was feeling, is that it was so hard to find statistics on dementia for anybody below the age of 60, 55. Like 55 was like the youngest I was finding, like I was easily finding data for. And I mean, I was looking for like proper scientific papers and everything. Like I wasn't just like, you know, looking for some random magazine. And so that in and of itself was pretty mind-boggling, bearing in mind the fact that Britney was 26 years old when this conservatorship happened. But we're going to come to early onset dementia a little bit later in the video. So stay tuned for this, right? Memory loss, difficulty concentrating. In 2019, Britney Spears was performing in Las Vegas with a residency. For those of you who don't know, that is like, it's like the Super Bowl for like performers, like entertainers. Like this is what people, this is like one of the highest level achievements in your professional career you can have as a artist. And guess what, guys? Not only was she performing there in 2019, let's not forget that she only stopped performing and doing stuff because she refused to continue as long as her dad was head conservator. That's what she said. As long as my dad's doing, so the only reason she hasn't been continuing since then, right, and we're only just into 2020, right, we've just come into March, is because of her dad. Not only was she still performing, which includes acting, singing, dancing, I mean acting if you want to include it, but I think yes, because it's all a whole thing, and doing costume changes and everything. She was teaching her own dancers even. She was teaching her own dancers Tell me where that sounds like memory loss and difficulty concentrating, or finding it hard to carry out familiar daily tasks, e.g. getting confused over the correct change when shopping. Now, I understand, by the way, that the laws might be slightly different in the US, okay? Let me just remember to address this. And so I'm not saying that this is exactly how it would be. I'm sure they were slightly different. I did try to look into it as well, but I went with the NHS because it's a system that I'm familiar with. That I know, like they are like, you go to the NHS website is supposed to have the information for you, right? Okay, in the UK. So it can give us a good idea, just to throw that in there. Struggling to follow a conversation or find the right words, being confused about time and place, mood changes. Other than mood changes, which happen to normal people, right? This stuff already, and this is early, these are early stages. We're going to get into the later stages very shortly, right? What on earth were these people thinking? Like, really and truly. And like, already just from going through this, it just goes to show you how evil this was. Evil. Like, I used to try and be the one to be like, allegedly, and this and that, and da 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 da. You know what? It's so obvious how evil this whole situation is, and how much foul play there was here. And unfortunately, right, because people, if you don't care, you might not ask enough questions, it's hard for us to actually be able to address these types of things. You know, and even when I was searching to see if what doctors had already made a report and so on and so forth, I found some really vague like information. Like, some places were saying that there was like I think there was some type of health professional that spoke to like the Sun, and they were saying something like it's highly unlikely based on what they've seen that she's got dementia, which to them suggests that it's likely there's something very sinister going on, you know, and stuff like that. And that's why I decided, you know what, let's just look at the things for ourselves, and let's just talk about this all, you know, allegedly, even though I feel like I just said, like, let's just throw that out the window. Okay, let's look into the later stage symptoms, guys. Later stage symptoms. Bearing in mind, she was in this conservatorship for 13 years. So I'm also thinking, if this is a real thing, surely we should be seeing the development of this disease, right? Because this is a long time, but 13 years is not like it's not a long time in you know, in general, but in terms of like a disease progressing through your body, 13 years, we should have been at least seeing some worsening of it or something. Okay. Later stage symptoms. Memory problems. People may not recognize close family and friends or remember where they live or where they are. Hello. The way that Britney Spears rattled out everything that happened in the testimony that we all heard, like in April, was it April last year? I can't remember the date, but I remember I listened to it live and I was taking notes like crazy, right? Not to mention the fact that she just made a post talking about how, look, Lou, I remember everything and I'm about to sue you and you, Robin. Don't think you got forgotten. Doesn't sound like memory problems to me, guys. The next one, communication problems. Some people may eventually lose the ability to speak altogether. Using non-verbal means of communication such as facial expressions, touches, and gestures can help. Does Britney Spears today look like somebody anywhere near close to something like this? Oh, this is one of my favorites. Mobility problems. Many people become less able to move about unaided, without help. Some may eventually become unable to walk and require a wheelchair or be confined to bed. So all this time where Britney has been spinning around, not to mention the fact that she's been on lithium, not to mention the fact that she's been going through so many different things behind closed doors, being forced to have take contraceptives, right? Doesn't look like she's losing her mobility, doesn't look like she's losing her communication skills, doesn't look like she's losing her memory. In fact, all of those things seem to be wildly intact, if you ask me. Behavioral problems. Agitation, depressive symptoms, anxiety, wandering, aggression, and sometimes hallucinations. Those are things I feel like are also symptoms of other stuff. Nothing too deep, although hallucinations. Here's some interesting ones. Bladder and or bowel incontinence. You know, when you can't hold yourself when you need to go to the loo, basically, right? When you need to go to the toilet. So for those of you who are not in the UK, loo is toilet. Can't go to the loo. My goodness. Appetite and weight problems. Can't comment on that. But that then goes on to say that many have trouble eating or swallowing and can lead to choking / chest infections and other problems. Guys, this is shocking because basically what they've done is fabricated this whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna just say it because nothing that I'm seeing here is even like, you know, like the way that she got into this conservatorship, and even the way that the media and a lot of people in the world responded when she got into this conservatorship was like, oh, Britney can't look after herself. Look how the industry must be getting into her. Something's getting to her because she needs this. She needs this intervention. She needs something or she won't survive. Like, if they at least had said something like, you know, she was struggling with, I don't know, multiple personality disorder and they needed her to get it, you know, get used to her medication or something, I would understand. And that would be something more fitting for her age. Oh, let's get into age. Let's get into age. So I looked at Statista Research USA. And in 2015, listen to this, right? Out of every 1,000 people between the ages of 60 to 64, right? This is the lowest age bracket they had. I tried to find lower age brackets. I was trying to find one where I could get it to be like, even if it was going to just show me like 0.0002%, right? Or 002, whatever, right? I was like, okay, cool. 3.8 out of 1,000, 60 to 64-year-olds in the United States in 2015. So this is like, how many years? Let me do the math. 7 years after she had been in the conservatorship. She'd been in the conservatorship, oh my gosh, sorry, for 7 years. 3.8 out of 1,000. Now, of course, people are going to say, obviously, there's always the one, right? There's always the 1%. There's always the rare case, okay? Okay, fair enough. So I looked into young dementia or early onset dementia. And this is considered if you are below the age of 65. So again, even the version of young, that bracket is very big as well, right? Very big bracket. Even at 40, it's like shocking that somebody would be having dementia, okay? Which is the age she just turned, might I add. And they said it's more of a rare form. You're less likely to have memory loss, but you're a lot more likely to have problems with movement. That's what they're saying for young, early onset dementia. It's a rare form. Again, more likely to have problems with movement. Where do we see that with Brit? Again, dancing around, moving around, sis is posing, sis is traveling, seems to be doing all right, mate. She seems to be doing pretty all right at the moment. And also, very interestingly, it's more likely to be inherited. So the young one, the young dementia early onset version is most likely to be inherited. So not just something that you get. So again, James, Lynn, you want to do some talking? Because right now you are saying that your 26-year-old daughter had dementia, not seeing virtually any of these symptoms from Britney. In fact, she was absolutely killing it on tour, doing, even up until 2019, what a lot of people who may never be like diagnosed or even considered to have dementia would be able to do. So, and I'm saying all of this to say, guys, it's really sad that we're talking about this now. It's really sad that like it's gotten this far and we have to talk about this 13 years down the line. But this is what happens when we don't question things for ourselves. I cannot drive home this message enough on this channel. This is why I believe so strongly in understanding something for yourself. This is what I love, even like myself as being a woman of faith, right? My responsibility is, my life is my responsibility. I am accountable for myself. And therefore, that means that I have to make sure that if I believe something, I understand why I believe it. Because actions have consequences, right? Actions have consequences. And so in society today, it's very easy to get caught up with what somebody's saying or what the news is saying. And I know we should be able to trust the news. It's supposed to be an unbiased platform, and gives fair sides of both sides of arguments and stuff. We know that's not the reality anymore. We know that's not how it works, unfortunately. But even still, in this day and age with the technology we have to ask questions, you know. And I even feel like I've done this whole Free Britney thing a disservice by talking about this so late, to be honest with you, because even just in doing this very basic analysis, and like I say, I'm not a healthcare expert, you know, I don't have any degree in diagnosis of dementia or anything, although I will say I know there are people in my family who have worked in hospitals for years and have told me many different stories about dementia patients, obviously just like what happened, not like their names and stuff, because you're not allowed to talk about that stuff, but you know what I mean, like what those patients are like dementia patients. So even to me, what I've heard about dementia patients, and if anybody's experienced that in your family or in your life, it's completely different. And so the fact that this got this far at the time, to me, is so weird and sinister. I personally feel like a lot of this stuff went under wraps because the media was just focusing on the fact that Britney looked like, at least they were trying to make it seem that way, like she needed all this help. Of course, we know that TMZ, one of their main sources about all this stuff was none other than her father, James Spears. So he was obviously helping that narrative, and I guess because people were so busy assuming that she looked like she was losing it based on everything that's being seen in the media, people were just like, well, whatever the reason, it looks like she needs some intervention. And I just think that the lesson we all have to take home from this is let's look into things for ourselves, because I promise you, it's so embarrassing. I get embarrassed even myself when I go along with something that somebody else says, and then after the fact I'm like, I feel like such an idiot now. I should have done my own research, because these things, they do have consequences. And so many people in Hollywood, in this industry that I talk about so much on this channel, they get away with stuff purely because people aren't asking questions. That's why. And some of them are so cocky to the point that because they know you're not going to say anything, and we're not going to say anything, we're not going to ask questions, they do things just assuming they're going to get away with it. Because it's like, oh yeah, everybody's convinced, everybody's under the spell that we created because of everything that we put on the media. Everybody believes that Britney needs to be here. They're not even questioning it, you know. And then even if you were to question it, it would have to be questioned by somebody who actually has the authority to look into this stuff. Because what they also tend to do with a lot of this kind of stuff is say, oh well, we want to protect the privacy of the person and their private life. And a lot of the times when like people like in these situations say stuff like that, I find that very dodgy, because it's like, are you protecting the person or are you protecting yourself? Because, do you know what I mean? It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird to have everything online. It's a bit weird to be talking about the conservatorship. Why even mention that? Why not just be like, you know what? Britney's taking some time off, although people didn't know that's what was happening anyway, which is kind of the problem. And this all came to light. Why? Because people could sense something was off with Britney. Sometimes all we have, and I thank God, I genuinely thank God, literally, that he gave us like the part of us, our instincts. I believe the reason why we have this internal thing where like sometimes you could just sense something is off is because God was like, yep, this world you live in, I know the evil powers that you're dealing with. They're going to try and trick you with everything that you see and everything that you hear. I need to give you something else that's going to just be like, you know what I mean? That kind of thing where you're just like, that's what I felt with the whole Free Britney thing in the beginning. It was like, you know what? Something just feels off. Whatever's going on with her, something just feels off. And boy, were we correct in the end. And of course, a lot of people did not believe that this was true. This started out very just like, Britney, please, like, wear a yellow t-shirt if you're not feeling okay, you know, in the pictures. I remember when we were all doing that and people were thinking this was crazy and people were still bad-mouthing Britney, and look where we are now. So yeah, anyways, guys, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. I know some of you guys are going to be absolutely fuming, like I am, about all of this. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Of course, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, especially if this is your first time on my channel. Support me. Be like, hey, I like this video, right? And like the video as well. Other than that, guys, don't forget to check out the Free Britney playlist of all my other videos about Britney and all my other videos. There's so many different videos, guys. And yeah, God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.